This is the December 13th regular monthly meeting of the Darien, Connecticut Parks and Recreation Commission. It is 7:38. Sorry, we're a little bit late. We are trying new to us technology to have a hybrid meeting with people in the room at Town Hall and then commission member virtually. So a little trouble getting set up, but we are ready to go now. Okay, first order of business is approval of the minutes from our last two meetings, November 15th, 2023, and December 6th. The copies were sent out. However, after the packet went out, we got some updates from our secretary, Kathy Mulroe Key. So for the the November 15th,
It was in November, it was the December 6th.
oh, here it is, I got it, no, it was, no, there were both. On the
Right.
November 15th, the only thing that Kathy suggested changing is towards the bottom of page 3, the second to last paragraph, it starts with Ms. Bonesack. It said echoed Ms. Mulroe and Ms. Morgan's concerns. She believed it was Ms. During's and Ms. Morgan's concerns.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay.
I read that same thing.
Okay, so that was her one suggested change for the November 19th. Did anybody have anything else on those minutes? November 15th, I said, excuse me, I think I said the 19th, it's November 15th. Everybody else was good? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve those? Susan, second, Jim, in favor? Okay, that's everybody, Mary Louise? Uh-oh.
Mary Louise, are you in favor?
You're approving the minutes from...
November
the first
15th.
meeting. Yes, but let me just say, I can hear you, Pam. I can't hear anyone else.
That's
Well, it's our first trial here.
Yeah.
Okay, we will all try to speak up without yelling. Okay. So that was an in favor, Mary Louise?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay. Next are the minutes from our December 6th special meeting, and Kathy did send out an edited version with enough edits that I think to read them would be difficult, so Pam handed those out.
And I emailed you, Mary Louise, updated.
Did everybody get a copy?
Okay.
Those are redlined.
Yeah.
So you'll note changes she made on page 2. So if everybody just wants to take a quick glance at the changes, I did look at them earlier and I was fine with them.
I think I have one change.
Okay.
Just looking at the first motion to move on the last page, which is the move to approve the Cherry Lawn Playground. Cara is an abstain. I believe that if you go back and read through, she did change that to a no.
She didn't.
She did not?
She did.
She did,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, so,
So this says she opposed, what I'm looking, are you looking at the, oh, on the
most recent one.
chart.
Yeah, on the chart. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, I was looking at the verbiage.
sorry, the last page, yeah.
Okay, and where's the chart? I think I print the chart because that was when
Here,
my,
I have it.
was the exact moment that my printer jammed.
That's okay.
And I was like, oh, this doesn't look like it's different. I don't need to.
You see in the upper left where it says A,
Yep,
that should be an N.
okay. Got it. Okay, you got that?
Yep.
Okay,
That's a good catch, Chris.
thank you, Chris.
No problem.
See what happens when your printer jams?
I have two little ones that use all my printer ink, so.
Okay, so, any other comments or questions, or people need just a moment to go through them?
Tamara had a question about the audience, because since the meeting was virtual, the recording did not show all audience members.
Right.
So I'm unsure who was in attendance apart from commissioners.
Yeah, what she listed were Adele, is that correct, Adele? She had Diane, think I saw Diane up there. She had Susan Marks, who I don't believe I saw on it,
Don't remember that.
and Patty.
And with Sarah, Sarah was there.
Sarah Baldwin.
Yeah,
Is she?
No, I don't think
she's
Sarah
the-
Baldwin was here.
and she was.
Did she come late?
I don't know if she, you mean for the virtual meeting? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was there, yeah.
Is she on the playground committee also?
So we don't know about Susan or Patty for sure?
No, Patty was, I don't think Patty.
Patty
Patty was
wasn't
not
there.
on.
Remember?
Yeah.
I don't think Susan Marks, I don't remember seeing Susan
I don't
Marks
think
on there.
She wasn't, she had texted me earlier that day, I think she had something to do.
Okay, all right, so we'll just leave it at Adele, Diane, and Sarah.
No, Cheryl Russell was on. so-
Cheryl was on? Okay, great, thank you. Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, then motion to approve. Chris first,
Motion?
Jim second, all in favor? Mary Louise, yes? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Do we have any public comment? No, no one registered with you today?
No.
No, we don't see anybody on, okay. All right, next we are going to discuss if needed and vote on the revised Park and Rec rules and regulations. As you all recall, we've spent 2 meetings going through these in excruciating detail, you know, almost line by line. The goal of these, for anybody watching this, was to really do cleanup of these, you know, going through them from time to time. You read things and you're like, well, that's not really right. No, we don't do that, or we do that, and it wasn't referenced. Things that have come up over time that weren't really reflected in the rules at all, we added in. So those changes are reflected here. As we've spoken about, generally we feel that this whole document could be tightened up and streamlined because it's been added to with addendums from time to time. So we thought what we would do is get the changes that we wanted in place voted on so that they're official, and they do take 30 days to become effective. Pam has to file them, I think, at the library with the police and maybe the town clerk. And then they would be in place, and then the plan was that over the winter, Kathy very graciously agreed to work with me on these. I think with her being a lawyer, that would help, and really see, there's a lot of redundancies that can be stripped out. Think about the formatting. We need to find out like these section numbers. I don't know where they came from. I don't know if we're stuck with them, you know, what they mean. So things of that nature we will have to do some investigative work on. But in the meanwhile, I did pass these out redlined last month, so you guys have had the month to really go through them. So the copy that was circulated was with the red lines, you know, removed and basically cleaned up. So this should be the clean copy unless there's any final changes that anybody saw. So, any
I
questions
see
or
one
discussion?
under riding of horses.
Yes, can you give me, oh, there it is. Riding a horse, no person shall ride, lead, or take any horse in any park.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to say that quite as rigidly, given that we've got the Great Island. I don't know.
Great Island's not a park.
I know it's not a park, but,
It's not a park, these don't go by in Great Island.
okay, it has nothing.
Nothing to do with Great Island.
Okay.
Keep reminding people that we need to start working on rules for Great Island,
Great
but
Island.
that's a separate deal.
Okay, all right.
Anything else? No? Okay, then are we willing to have a motion to approve the Darien Parks and Recreation rules and regulations as updated? Jim, second?
Right.
I'll take Amy, okay, in favor? And Mary Louise was affirmative? Okay,
Yes.
great, yay. Okay, so I'll change this to say revised and approved.
Oh, Kathy's in.
Oh, Kathy's on, okay, we have to do the Kathy.
Oh, she'll be over here.
Joined at 7:47. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for all your your work on these. There's a lot to get them cleaned up. I think we have a lot more clarity on what the department does versus what the commission does. That was kind of used interchangeably, and I think I mentioned they're updating the, all the, the coastal commission's updating sort of the waterfront. At one point, it said that the commission will place, buoys, and I'm like, no, I am not out there in a rowboat putting buoys in it. I would be the department, so just things of that nature. Okay, we can move on to the review the summary of assessments against the park standards of care. This is the summary of all of the input from the parks tour. Cara kindly put this together for us. And so we will just take a walk through it. She could not be with us this evening. You'll see on the first page, I guess it's listed as page 2. It says, talks about that we adopted the standards of care in 2021 to maintain our facilities in high and uniform standards, and that we conduct an annual assessment to identify where the standards are being met and also where facilities need work, and trying to synchronize with the budget for maximum impact. I mean, ideally, we would have the park tour a little bit earlier in the season before we approve the budget, but unfortunately this year when we tried to schedule the scheduling in October, and the weekends just didn't work between Pam's had conferences and people were away, and so we were later than we would have liked to have been this year, but hopefully other years we'll be able to get a little bit closer to doing that. In total, we had 14 people who provided input, all 9 commissioners, which is fabulous, and then 5 RTM members to the assessment. And this report, for Cara, this focuses on areas of consensus, but she also included some one-off suggestions that we can separately discuss. So if you will flip to the assessment of the park, I realize Cara sent me a first version, and then there were a couple things that we needed to clarify, and then for some reason when she sent it back, the rating scale dropped off, so I reprinted it. But what she did this year, which was just one of those things she did afterwards, so I shouldn't have done that, is in prior years on our 1 to 5 scale, where 1 is this really needs attention, 5 is this is awesome, 5 was this is awesome. When she set up the SurveyMonkey this year, 1 was this is awesome, and 5 is this is horrible. So if you look at these numbers,
I wonder,
you could be confused if you remember the old scale.
Okay.
But it is what it is because the SurveyMonkeys were in, so it is what it is. But so just as a reminder.
But the integrity of the survey is correct.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So in the green, I mean, it really highlights with the colors, with the green. So, but areas of strength were anything that rated a 1 to 3. So last year would have been like 3 to 5. I
Okay.
know, I'm confusing everybody.
Yeah.
But I had like this
No,
moment, I was like calling her going, and then needs work would be anything from a 3.4 to a 5. And then neutral was in the, 3.1 to 3.4. But I think the color visual is really what says it all. So, going through park by park, as you'll see on, Baker.
That was the only thing I was concerned about, is that we didn't actually spend time at Baker, we just zipped through. But this is based on the survey.
It's based on how people filled it in and then would have included.
But she says here on Parks tour, so that implies that we actually toured Baker, but we didn't. I don't know if that makes a
I
difference.
think some folks would have went back and did it.
Okay.
Okay. But your point is right, that we did,
It just,
Yeah.
it's a little cloudy, but
It is
I'm
cloudy.
okay with whatever you think.
it is cloudy. But as opposed to what's identified here, Baker rated pretty well with the exception of the playground equipment, which is scheduled to be replaced. And, accessibility, and we did have some discussion that you can't get from the parking lot, for instance, to the playground. There's no path or anything, and that might be something we wanted to address, so I think that's why that came out, because that. For Cherry, came out, again, rated mostly in green. Playground equipment was in yellow, we know that's scheduled for replacement. And then accessibility came out as really neutral. Houlihan, the athletic fields, were neutral. You know, we're doing work on them now, they're being resodded and such. Now this says, somebody put
Courts.
Courts.
No,
There aren't
it's-
any courts.
There aren't any courts there.
there are no courts. The only thing I can think of is maybe some people thought courts meant athletic fields,
Mhm.
maybe? Don't know.
Mm.
And then signage was neutral.
Do you think also where it says buildings and gazebos, like at Houlihan, maybe they meant the dugouts? Because otherwise there really isn't a building there either, right?
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm surprised that it's in the green because we need to do work there, so.
So that- Yeah,
So maybe there's confusion between those two.
that's right.
Elements.
I think courts was the, I don't recall specifically, but I mean, we all
The
identified
fencing.
that there was an issue with fencing, so
Right.
potentially it's between courts and buildings and gazebos.
Yeah, there was some talk about the dugouts.
Yeah.
I think it needed some work, so maybe somebody categorized, you know, the dugouts under building and gazebos, for lack of somewhere else to put it.
Yeah,
Um,
nothing major.
Nothing major. Now, McGuan was rated all in green, although really with athletic fields, we know, that kind of surprised me. But it may have been people rated it because it's been budgeted to be fixed. But I think we all know that,
They also said courts.
yeah. And weed, again, was all in green. But, I mean, I know for my personal rating in weed, I talked about the fact that, you know, the rating assumed that the work that, you know,
Mhm.
is planned is actually completed, not that it's that way now. And then you'll see, if it's white, it means it really wasn't applicable to that park, which, you know, many of these parks, you know, Freight Park, Dillard, Pear Tree, whatever, not as much is applicable.
Right, we're addressing the issue of Pear Tree.
Pear Tree, we're addressing the issue. You know, the work impact has already started. People feel neutral about the tree canopy. I mean, there really isn't tons of a tree canopy there. Accessibility needs work. I mean, certainly we're addressing that with the bathroom doors, but just generally, you know, I think we've talked over the years about getting, you know, more accessibility either to the picnic area or whatever, so those are some things we can continue to think about. You know, Stony Brook, it's really just a little hiking trail.
Stony Brook on the signage, I mean, just one that I had and went in there.
Mhm.
I don't want to say it looks like a commuter lot, but you get a lot of people just taking naps with out-of-state plates and
Yep.
things like that. Since we have addressed signage at other places, like Baker,
Mhm.
I just, you know, something that maybe says, hey, minimum 2-hour wait time or something like that. I don't
Parking
think.
limitation?
Yeah.
You think people are there all day?
I've gone by all hours of the days and I've seen a lot of TNC cars that I think guys have, like, taxiing commission.
Oh, okay.
So, like, there are Ubers that are allowed to bring people from LaGuardia or JFK or whatever into town. They can catch a 2-hour nap and then turn back their Uber app on and then come back on. It's very blatant, right? It's large black cars that are waiting to have another pickup,
Okay.
and we don't have any of the signage in there. So that was the one place, and so where I went on that.
You want to make a note of that, Pam?
Mhm.
Because we did in the updated rules, we addressed parking and,
Yeah.
you know, we can set minimums and post it or whatever. Okay.
Tilly, a couple weeks ago, did we talk about doing something with the gazebo? Painting it? Did I not hear that? That we were gonna do something with the gazebo? No?
Gazebo stone.
No.
It's sometimes like, it gets like,
Inside
there's
erosion.
graffiti inside, sometimes the kids do some graffiti.
I just, maybe it was just a comment that was made, something about cleaning up the inside.
Yeah, there was all
Yes.
like
Yeah,
nests or whatever.
right, there's always nests
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Okay,
The day that was one of the ones in my personal assignment, that one day I went and looked at it, it actually looked, the gazebo looked good, and I went, oh, do I want
Mhm.
it? booklet, and I noticed that area up sort of past the big stones, there's that wall there that I think that would be the area that we should reclaim. It could be just really, it's got nice stone steps and you overlook the pond, it could be a nice little kind of sense of place where you can, you know, a bench or something that people could sit and read or whatever, but I guess it was planned, somebody was telling me,
Looks like
the
the
festival this
gardens.
weekend, there was like more of a garden and stuff, but it's all
It was a Girl Scout project.
gotten over and grown,
And it's, yeah, hasn't been
maintained.
for many years.
Right, but-
Just like a tree having growing in it.
Yep. Okay. And then woodland, you know, facilities is not applicable. You know, all in all, the natural areas rated well, but not, you know, as the best rating. I think that may have to do, I know I put in notes about the fact that, you know, we haven't identified invasive work that needs to be done there.
Mhm.
Quite a bit.
It's just a canopy over the signage and
Yep.
woodland that needs to be addressed. And it's just a matter of a couple of tiles or even, it could be washed, you know, power washed probably, but a lot of mildew.
Where is
So,
it specifically?
On top of the signage as you're entering,
And Woodland on which side? The main entrance?
the
or-
main entrance.
The main
Wood-
entrance.
Yeah.
Off
Woodland's
Middlesex.
behind the senior center, right? That's Woodland?
No, that's,
That's Stony.
no,
What are you talking about?
McGuan.
Oh, Woodland's over off of Middlesex, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Middlesex, yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm confusing it with the other. Isn't it Stony Brook that's over by Rory's there, you know, behind?
No, Stony Brook is
No,
near
that's
the public,
Selleck's.
public works.
Selleck's Woods.
Outlets.
Yeah.
South.
Selleck's, that's the one I looked at,
Yeah.
Okay.
but that's not even on here, but Selleck's the only thing,
It's for-
other than just that, the canopy over the signage.
Yeah, the two of us were
It's
assigned
kind of odd.
Selleck's, but I understand that it's not ours.
No, it is ours.
Is
It
it
is
ours?
ours.
Oh, well, then I don't know what's
I
on.
I
don't
don't
know
know
why
why
this
it's
is
not
not
Yeah,
on
on
it's
there.
not on there yet.
But we were both assigned that.
Yeah,
I
so
agree.
it's,
Yes.
is
It got
ours.
dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is on.
It's the other side is land trust around the
Dunlop
lake
Woods.
Okay,
area.
Yeah, Dunlop,
Dunlop
yeah.
Woods, that's not ours.
Okay.
But Selleck's
Selleck's
is
is
adjacent
ours.
to it and part of it, and that's
Yeah.
ours.
Okay.
this is just as you enter, there's a sign there that states all the rules and
Mhm.
everything.
Right.
And then it's covered with about maybe 3 feet at the most of roof tile, you know,
Okay.
shingles kind of
Yeah.
thing. That's all mildew and kind of
Okay.
rotting,
Okay.
so it could be power wash
Yeah,
probably.
yeah,
just
yeah, we
clean,
can,
but-
we can look at
That's
that.
actually-
That's at Selleck?
Yeah, we both submitted the same comments, I think.
The entrance that actually belongs to Parks and Recs is on Stony, on Little Brook Road though. Like the entrance that's at Parklands, I don't think that's our property, is it?
Not the entrance.
Not the entrance.
But the
really?
sign is,
The sign-
Chris Filmer did all that.
I know,
signage.
but I'm just saying,
It's not on
in terms of our purview,
Okay,
the entrance that, you remember when we did that planting and Eversource took all those trees down, and I
Yeah.
went and helped
Yep.
organize that, and then Chris Filmer and I cleaned it up like a few months later when the weeds came back in.
Mhm.
That's the actual entrance that belongs to the park, and you'll see our official white, you know, the park, the signs that you see at
Yeah.
all our parks, that's where the white sign is. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know
The official
exactly, I don't know where the
Yeah.
delineation line between the two is, so we both went on,
Yeah.
I think, both sides,
But, yeah,
but,
it's
okay.
very confusing, it's not
Alright.
very obvious, but just, I just wanted to let you know, that's our entrance there, so that's.
well, if
where-
any Eagle Scouts need a project
Clean up,
replacing,
Right, so when you go
Yeah.
down where you went
Yeah.
down,
The
if you
signage.
go to the left, that's Selleck's, you go to the right, it's Dunlop.
Well, we
Okay.
should talk to the land trust. I mean, it looks poorly.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
let them know.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll work on it.
Also, with signage for, since we're talking about signage, Stony Brook's signage is a little confused. There's not a very clear path in to that park. I mean, it's kind of a preserve anyway, almost, because it's just all trees but there's one sign in one spot and then another sign in another spot, and there's no clear entrance into going in or a path around. I couldn't really, I didn't want to walk in there.
Yeah,
'Cause
there isn't
with the
anything.
leaves down, I couldn't figure out
It's-
where I was going.
I climbed
in.
up the rocks and stuff like
And
that,
the
just to
rocks.
walk around along the waterfall
It
there.
was marked by Eagle Scout, I mean, it was an Eagle Scout project many years ago where they marked it, and I think some of it's worn off.
Okay,
Probably.
And also, I guess we had designated as a commission many years ago, that's our off-leash 24 hours site, just as an FYI, I don't know if people. know.
Yeah, no.
It's the only other park in Darien besides the spot in Cherry Lawn that's off-leash all the time. But
I just couldn't figure out how to get into the
Yeah,
park,
right.
and because
Okay.
it
That's
was
great feedback.
rocky and
Mhm.
there were leaves down, I just didn't know where there was a
Yeah.
path. So we should work on signage
Work
there.
on that, yeah. Yeah, we did hear from a resident this summer who, someone I happen to know, I guess he walks his dog up there pretty frequently, and then he got up to the where there's more of a clearing area, and he said it was all set up for a party.
Oh.
All
yeah.
set up, like, you know, they made like benches and tables out of, it was like set to go. He let us know, and Pam's staff went in and
Clean it up.
Clean it up.
disassembled everything.
Broke up the party.
Broke up the party, so.
Yeah.
Somebody's figuring out how to get up there, but I think you're right, we should make it, you know, because it's pretty up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful,
And
but we
we've
should-
toured up there.
Yeah,
and-
but we should make it so that it's, you
So
know,
at least you know how to get in.
Yeah.
clear how to get in, you know.
It has the only waterfall in Darien that's very spectacular when it rains. That's the.
Oh, yeah,
see
the
that?
water really comes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned dogs can run freely there.
Mhm.
So at Woodland and Selleck's, they cannot be off leash?
Yeah.
Correct.
Because they're preserved, nature preserves.
It's to protect the other wildlife.
However, it is a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem
Yes,
at
yeah.
Woodlawn. I mean, people,
Yeah,
Selleck's not so much, but Woodland,
they completely flood the hills.
yes.
I mean, I think it
And
helps
admit
during the
it.
summer. Yeah, it helps in the summer when we've had the security person walking around, and they know that if somebody's checking.
And so, and to that same point, so we've got 3.3 in signage at Woodland, which is an issue, and I've challenged people walking there, and they've said, oh, I didn't see the sign. I can point to where they are and everything else like that, I mean, I guess we can get bigger signs, or
Well, we talked a little bit when we had the whole dog effort. Dig dogs, dig.
Darien
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 digs
digs,
dogs, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But talked about having like small little signs along the pathway that said, you know, kept reminding,
yeah.
reminding to keep your dogs on leash, reminding you to not leave your poop bag on the ground.
Well, I really like the one at Selleck's. I think it talks about the reason why we want dogs on leash for the other animals that live here, and really kind of gets you a little bit. It's not just because we're saying we don't want your poop or we don't.
Right,
you know.
right.
It's like there's a reason, there's a purpose, there's an environment and an ecosystem, and you're disrupting it. So maybe that kind of sign would be helpful.
I mean, one of the things we've talked about over the years, it definitely is in the master plan, is just overall looking at signage. And that may be something going into 2024 that we want to really think about how we're going to tackle. I think we're going to have some of the bigger projects, not behind us, but they're going to be funded and we're going to do them or not. But, and I think as we get into, cars, we should probably spend time in early 24 saying, okay, what are we going to start working on next? Because, really a lot of the big chunky projects we've identified, we're going to get the funding or we're not going to get the funding, but I think as a commission then it's okay, kind of now what? Now what? So it may be a good time maybe to turn back to the master plan. But then also something like signage and more uniform signage and how we want to address that and finding that balance between having the appropriate amount of signage, but not too many what I call no signs, or don't do this, don't do that, whatever, and how you get the message across in a positive fashion by still making the rules clear, I think is going to take some work. So that may be an area we want to spend more time on next year.
The only comment I'd make also at McGuad, and I don't think we really talked about, because we spent a lot of time up on the patio, looking at all the great work that was done up there.
Excuse me.
Bless you. The lower part, at the bottom of the stairs, as you're going up, is that where the flagpole is? I'm not sure. When you're going up the stairs to the concession area, there's an area there that is a little, like, slightly landscape, just some bushes and stuff like that, just that it's maintained.
And where are we talking? I'm
So
sorry.
if you're at McGuan,
McGuan.
you know the stairs that go up
Yeah.
to the, to it.
Concession. Yeah.
At the
From the
bottom of those
parking lot.
stairs, on the right-hand side, there's like a circular area that has small bushes and,
Yeah.
I think there's a flagpole there, or at least there's a plaque on a rock
Yes.
there. Just that it's landscaped, that's all. That it's,
Yeah, we could work on it.
the bushes are taken care of. Like this year it was a little ratty over there, but I think that was because of all the construction going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Because my mind immediately goes to the planter boxes that we have to fill.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
that's on
so-
top.
Yeah, I do
It's on
those
top.
too.
This
But
is
at the same
very bottom.
time that we're doing the planter boxes and that pretty new wall that we're gonna
Mhm.
plant, we could be looking at that as
Yeah,
well.
this would look nice, you know.
Do it all at once.
Yeah, what the
And there's
hell.
also
Beautification
areas down there
dollars.
for
Yeah, that'd
tree,
be perfect.
potential tree poten-
Mhm.
down there. Make that drive-in and parking more appealing.
So we should probably look at that all at once when we,
We have beautification dollars.
yeah, when we do the planting plan for the planters and the wall, just
Yeah.
include that.
Sure.
Include that as well, make that look as nice.
Yeah, just would look nice.
Yeah, and even over there, we identified invasives that, you know, they were kind of, every park we went to, I said, oh, this one won't be bad. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, and then Laura's like, nope, there's that, nope,
Yep.
there's that. And I'm like, well,
Are the bathrooms started to go on there? Are they finished?
Yeah.
Nice.
all right, so that's the summary. Any other thoughts? And then there's some details. I thought that this was interesting. The most, you know, important priorities that people stated and, you know, with the top ones being, you know, the completion of projects already started. Just, you know, things we've identified, get them done. Maintenance of existing parks and facilities, so, you know, that's just really, you know, maintain, you know, the standards of care that we put out there. Invasive management and more native plantings. Address pickleball demand. Manage congestion at Cherry Lawn. And beautification of current parks, so, yeah. Just so thoughts or reactions to that?
No
Sounds like everything
surprise.
we've talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No surprise.
No surprise there. Anything, you know, cases, well, obviously, you know, we talked about projects, but even things like, you know, dress pickleball command, you know, Jim, and he'll, you know, update, you know, later on, you know, we've got a committee that's going, congestion for Cherry Lawn, you know, we've asked for money for a traffic study, and then beautification, again, we're asking for dollars, and, you know, prioritize how we want to spend those dollars this year. And then, you know, then we have pages on, you know, some specific comments for each park. Baker, you know, the playground equipment is old and tired, so a new playground is timely. No path from the parking lot to playground hindering accessibility, and need to clear out invasive plants by the first baseline. So then we'll get that invasives committee. Other thoughts about Baker?
No, just that we are gonna replace the fencing too, right?
Yeah.
Around the park, especially on,
In the front
Yeah.
of the playground.
right,
Yeah.
the side that faces the
To
road.
the road, yeah.
Other thoughts on Baker? Okay, Cherry Lawn, very congested, prompting many respondents to include this as a strategic issue. Excited that playground and ADA compliance are being tackled. Great job by Sandy and his crew tackling the invasive plants. The solar aerators making a difference to water clarity, and reconsider fence for off-leash dog area. Those were comments that were put in. Any other comments or additions, things we want to put on the list for Cherry? Houlihan, is it H-O-L or H-O-U-L?
You,
Yeah.
It is, okay.
If I can go back to Cherry Lawn, I guess for
Yes.
one moment,
Sure.
just because we have, you know, in terms of priorities, the fourth being pickleball demand and we're looking into it, I would just say, potential to look into increased pickleball at Cherry Lawn once again, somewhere in the future.
well, that's one of the
I thought
things
these
that
were-
we will, as a committee, you know, we'll look at and address what the pros and cons of that are, as well as all the, you know,
Agreed.
feedback that we receive from the public at our hearings. Yeah.
Mary Louise, do you have any comment on Cherry Lawn? Any additions?
Well, the biggest problem, of course, is the congestion, which is, that is major. And then, of course, continuing with the invasives, which is also ongoing. We've addressed the garden, which I guess we're going to talk about in January.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. We've invited the gardeners to come meet with us in January. What could
Yeah.
be better than talking about gardens in January, Mary Louise?
that seems very apropos as all of the catalogs start coming in.
That's right.
So I look forward to that.
I just wanted to address Chris's comment. My understanding of this is that this is a sum of the survey, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I don't think we should add anything if Cara didn't add it here, because she did the summary of the survey. So I mean, comments such as talking about pickleball courts, I think we could probably raise once he brings forth to the from the committee, but I don't know that it's actually supposed to go on this survey.
That's fine. So then any of this discussion is moot and we shouldn't add, we should just read this out.
I think, because this is a survey, but there's
Yeah.
obviously a special committee, so.
Fully understand, but if we're gonna ask through the rest of these, it's just gonna be comment, and we shouldn't put it into anything but minutes, I'd imagine.
I would think so.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask Kathy too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can prompt discussion though, what's people on people's
Oh, I'm not,
minds.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. You were
Yeah.
just suggesting to actually put it into the document, so I don't know that that's.
Yeah, and I don't know for sure if Cara put every single comment on here, I highly doubt she
I don't think she did.
So I think I'm gonna ask her if
She
I can,
probably did the
get,
bigger ones,
you
yeah.
know, make sure we have the full
The
full
backup.
set. Yeah,
yeah.
the backup. I think it'll be good to have that as well.
And Kathy, if you can hear us, do you have any additional comments on Cherry Lawn?
I don't have any additional comments on Cherry Lawn. I don't know if you're going to hear me because I'm on the train.
We can hear you fine.
Okay, good. I can only hear some of you. So it's working a little bit. We're getting there.
Yeah, see, we have to figure that out with the miking.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Miking of this, so it doesn't seem like the owl's picking us all.
We could probably move it in the middle maybe.
Well, I think you're gonna want technical support on that.
Yep.
Okay, Houlihan, backstop and fencing needs to be replaced, we put that in the capital budget. Consider planting more trees, and consider signage to deter off-leash dogs on fields, which I think we witnessed while we were there. Anything else that anybody recalls from that discussion, or when they did their ratings?
No, just, again, the dugouts, I think, did we say that they needed just a coat of paint, something like that? Did we even
We
say
did.
it needed that?
We
Okay.
did,
So maybe just a coat of paint on the dugouts?
yeah.
Okay. I think the canopies over the dugout were fine, right? They were okay. No issues there. Just a couple of baseballs out there that we gotta take off, but, yeah, it's better.
Yeah, one of the things I went over, I think my husband and I did our own mini park tour one weekend, but when we were over at Maguan, and there was a baseball game on, and we ended up just staying and watching the baseball game for a while, because it's been so many years since we did that. It's probably been 15 years since we were there. It felt like 3 nights a week, and it was really fun watching the kids. We just
I love
I
Woodlawn.
was like, let's just stay and watch. So it was really, it was so cute. It was really nice.
I'll go there on a Saturday and, you have 3 games going on and just sit up there and get something from the concession stand and just walk
Watch all
around,
the
catch a
games.
game down there, the other one there. People will say, well, so which field is your kid playing on? I don't have any kids. Are you crazy?
No, it's
The
fun.
girls
So
were,
fun.
it was really little girls, and the girl hit the ball, and she's standing there, and like, they're like,
Run!
you're supposed to run.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
just
so
fun to
cute.
watch little league
Just going backwards, I
games.
believe you're right, this is spelled wrong.
So which is it?
It's Houlihan,
H-O-L.
H-O-L-A-H-A-N.
Oh, no, you?
Oh, really? I thought that was a U.
I don't believe so, but
It's you, yeah.
I can look out the window.
Huh?
Start.
LA.
H-O-L-A.
It was on the
It's
survey,
named after a
HOU.
person.
Houlihan,
Yeah,
Yeah.
not Houlihan.
okay.
Like a hooligan.
That's super interesting.
Okay, Maguan, comments, new patio looks great. We all agree. We talked about the fact that the accessible ramp and the deck need to be replaced. So that's something, invasive committee has identified areas to tackle. And there's a beautification opportunity for the new planters and the newly constructed planting area. And Eastern Redbud was one of the suggestions. So that we'll need to be working on in the spring for sure. Okay, other comments about Maguan? People remember things we saw? Weed Beach, great progress reducing invasive plants behind tennis courts, which has also increased usable space. Tackle invasive plants in the dunes, which we know we have the Eagle Scout project lined up to do that for us. Focus on short lane property, being cautious to not take down too many trees. Courts are in good shape except for the backboard, which is in the fiscal '25 budget. And stone benches have some rotting wood slats.
Yeah.
You said those can actually be replaced. Other thoughts or remembrances from when we were at Weed Beach? Okay. And then in terms of considerations, when she, looked at sort of the summary results, conclusion being that Parks and Rec is on track to substantially all areas meet or exceed standards of care in the near future. And I think when you just look at the visual compared to where we are, I think we can be really proud of the progress, we've made, the strategic direction that we've taken, in setting the standards, asking for the money, and, having this information to back it up. Pam and the crew, have done amazing, very noticeable work. At this point, I think you can really go to the parks and you really can see the improvements. It's been very noticeable. So I think we're on a really great track to have the parks where we can be, well, we're proud of them already, but just, we've identified some things and I think we're just really great shape. And then her suggestion, and I agree with, is to consider, a meeting agenda. I think it might be more than one meeting. I think it's probably going to need to be sort of an ongoing discussion to affirm our strategic priorities, for the coming year, given there were less things that were just like these screaming, like, we need to, tackle invasive, we got to do something about the bathrooms at Pear Tree, when are we going to do something short lane? There've been these sort of big chunky things that we've all been spending a lot of time on, and as those have been identified and as they're getting funded or not, then we really have to think about kind of, what's next? Where do we go? We're going to be, feels like a little bit more steady state, a little bit, where we can really be thinking about some of these other things. So that I would agree. We'll need to spend some time on.
Yeah.
And I think probably, going back to, the master plan, and, I do go back and look at it and, search things out, but just taking sort of a read of it and thinking about what it's telling us. It's about 5 years now. It was 2018. 5 years old, so, yeah, I know. So probably time to revisit it and think of what's next
Yeah.
in terms of where we want to spend our.
10 years seems so far out, but you really do need to, with the kind of growth that we're experiencing.
Yeah. And yes, Kathy.
Okay, sorry, it's hard for me to know if I'm interrupting. so sorry.
No, go ahead, please, Kathy.
Yeah, I would love us to spend time on the natural areas and to really look at sort of to Amy's and Mary Louise's point, sort of the tree canopy, and really focus on some of those natural issues in the parks as we go forward. We get to global climate issues, it's going to be even more important that these parks are maintained as we go forward.
So I spent a lot of time on doing the tree canopy inventory at Cherry Lawn Park. And we were just about finishing up and somebody said, "You're doing this all wrong. It needs to be done by a professional who actually does an aerial view and counts it out like that." I mean, we literally counted trees and identified what kind of trees there were and how many we had of each one.
I still think that's great information.
I mean, I've got it all.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see it.
I'd be happy to submit it. But like Norwalk has done a full tree canopy of the town and has a very rigorous effort to add more trees. They've got the worst tree canopy in the state.
Norwalk does.
Norwalk.
Interesting.
But they're mapping all their new trees they put in, it's this whole, they got a huge grant,
They
Right.
have a huge grant that
and they're giving it to free trees and planting.
you're doing an amazing effort. So we may want to look at actually doing that more professionally for our parks.
Good point.
And I know
But
the
if I
land.
can
Go ahead, Mary Louise.
to add on, I think it would be very helpful going forward if we had a very real plan with reference to what we plant, where we plant, and, just not do it spur of the moment, helter-skelter, kind of like plant what we get and so on, but really think it through in terms of what we really want and the effect that we want to achieve. And that also goes in terms of the invasives. How aggressive do we want to be in terms of going after these areas that we have identified, like at Baker, for instance, where there are a lot of invasives on either side. We don't seem to have a real plan. We're just kind of like going after, yes, we're going to go after the invasives, but the extent to which we're going to do it, and how much we're going to cut back, and how much we're going to leave for the animals and so on to just do their thing.
Mary Louise, I think that gentleman who was at the land trust meeting, who you were talking to about coming to speak with us, he might be helpful in that regard as well. I know you spoke to Lori about him too. He's a fascinating gentleman.
Yes. Janet, Amy, and I were at the land trust meeting, the annual meeting, and we did have this wonderful speaker talk about invasives and so on, and what to do about them. So I did mention that to you, Lori.
Yes,
that,
you did, about potentially getting them.
I'm checking it out with the land trust, Elizabeth, tomorrow, as a matter of fact, as to if there was a charge and so on, and how we can handle that.
Well, I spoke to him directly about that as well.
And what did he say?
You and I can talk offline.
Okay, all right.
I did meet, I was going to mention this later in my chair's comments, but I did meet with Elizabeth and Amy, was it?
Beth
Beth.
Harmon.
No, she left.
No, I know, but I thought you were referring to.
Okay, no, just this past week,
On
two
the
women
land
from the
trust?
land trust,
Okay.
two of the board members are kind of running it right now until they get another executive director. Forgive me if you're watching this, names out of my head at this moment. But we met for about an hour and change in their offices last week, and it was really just getting to know each other, which was great. But talking about the different initiatives, I was telling more about what we're doing, what they're doing, and what they really want to bring the different constituents in town together that all have an interest in this, and they're talking about putting together some kind of afternoon symposium or something. They're targeting maybe February, to get speakers in and then kind of get people together to start, galvanized and working on this in a more coordinated manner. And I definitely said I thought, that would be something that the commission and some of its members would be interested in participating in. So it was a good meeting, and Mary Louise, you're meeting with them tomorrow?
Correct.
Okay, and Adele, I know they were trying to connect with you, as you were supposed to be with
I'm on
us.
the road tomorrow, otherwise I would be there.
Okay, so I'm sure you'll connect with them at some point. Adele was supposed to be with us, but had germs and kindly
I
stayed
did.
home.
My germs have abated.
But thank you for not sharing.
For a number of years, the Tree Conservancy did a wonderful job of planting trees around town. Do they no longer?
Business.
And they were free,
Yeah,
the
they're no
trees.
longer, that
Yeah,
committee.
No longer
They
exist?
Yeah.
That was
Oh, okay.
Sabina Harris.
They put a
Because they had
number of
access
trees
to
at Tully
trees.
Pond
Yeah,
for free.
Yeah.
yeah. Juliet Kane's actually doing a talk in January about trees too.
Oh, good.
She says it's more general, like the whole area, just not Darien.
She's
she's
pollinator
very-
pathway.
Where is she?
She's
Where,
doing it at
when?
the Darien Library.
Oh, at the
But she's
library?
gonna, I'll
She's
send her
really
out.
impressive if you
And
guys
she's,
haven't met her.
she's very passionate about the trees now, so.
She was with us, she helped us with the red buds and everything we
Yes.
did at Jerry. Yeah.
Yes.
She got all those trees for us.
Okay, good. Okay. So that is our summary, and I think it's been a great discussion about things we want to be thinking about and, the move forward, et cetera. So thanks to Cara for putting this together. I will ask her so we have the whole backup. Okay. Fee schedule. We'll talk about this tonight, vote on it in January. But Pam, do you want to run through what your recommendations are for the 24, 25?
I I recommend it stays the same. I don't see any major areas of concern where we need to increase fees. Because we met with the community gardeners, that fee at the bottom would be 30, because the only reason it was $20 was because the $20 went to Parks and Recreation. Now that the community gardens will be underneath Parks and Recreation fully, it'd be $30 coming back to the town. And we will certainly write any checks or pay any invoices that go into the community gardens through our own new account that will be under the town.
That fee's not changed in like,
No, we changed.
Just
I think
recently.
we bumped
but
it
before that.
last year.
Was it last
It
year?
wasn't last year, I think it was a couple of
What
years
was it?
ago.
What was it from?
It was $10 to, $15 to 30. Yep.
Well, no, you said, was it $20 last year?
No, it was 30. It's just that $20 went back to Parks and Rec and 10
Oh,
went
okay.
to the gardeners.
I think we bumped it though. I remember voting on actually increasing it.
Well, I only say that because I left these 2 years in and there was
Yeah.
no change. So even in 2022, 23, it was still 20.
Do you remember,
So
Mary
I-
Louise? I could swear last year we bumped it by $5 or $10 or something.
Vaguely, I recall we did increase it slightly.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't have anything in this column, maybe it was there.
I feel like we did.
Okay.
I feel like we did.
How many plots are there? Out of curiosity.
So is it 62, 64, Mary Louise?
Say that again?
How many plots?
It's very low.
Oh, there are approximately 60.
60, okay. Okay, 60. I thought it was like 62 because there's a couple that are, I think there's 2 that are split in half. So maybe it's 60 plots, but
I
64
know better.
people or something,
Well,
but
yeah, that's
something.
possible. In fact, there's more than one plot where 2 gardeners work it.
okay.
Pam, does the fee of $30 cover all our expenses associated with it, or are we running?
Yes, I mean, in terms of,
Is it break even, or?
no, they carried a little bit of a balance.
Like, I guess like if
For us-
Amy's like saying like things like water.
Like the $20.
Right, well,
does
that
it-
helps offset the water, that's the
Okay.
reason it was going back to.
But does
us.
it cover the water? Do you have a way of measuring that?
I'm not certain about that. Yes, I know how much we pay at Cherry Lawn, but the water doesn't go just strictly to the garden.
Because of the fields.
You know, plus the water fountain, there's a bathroom, there's,
Okay,
right?
so you only
there's-
have one water bill for Cherry Lawn, you can't isolate it, okay.
Right. So, but it does offset that expense for the water that's used there, so.
It just seems sort of low.
You know what?
I don't know how
you
Mary
what I-
Louise feels
What
about
I
me
think,
saying that.
what I think we should do honestly is keep it at the 30 for this year, now that it's under our department fully.
Okay, all right.
And then really take a close look at the water bill.
That makes
comes
good
in,
sense.
And then next year we can reassess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also what comparables are in the area, just to know. Like, that's when we set our fees, we look at what the other
Mhm,
towns
true.
and communities do.
I could have my front desktop do
Could
that.
Tamara maybe do that?
Yeah.
Well, front
Or
desk,
the front desk,
yeah,
and see if they could
absolutely.
do that. I mean, it does sort of jump at you that you pay $200 to store your kayak
And it's, yeah, exactly, and it's nothing.
and $30, you know, all into,
It just
Sorry.
doesn't, it just is very low.
Non-resident fees for the beaches, is that $80? Is that what I'm seeing here, $80 a vehicle?
Those are,
So if you're coming up from New York and you just want to stay for the day, go to Wheat Beach for the
no,
day.
that's 53.
no, that's 53, including.
All
tax.
non-residents are, it says 50 here, but it doesn't include the state tax, so it's really 53.
Have we considered increasing that?
We have.
Yeah.
Which,
Non-resident fee, so if someone's coming up from New York and they, for a day, want to hang out at Wheat Beach, per car that goes through,
Isn't
it's
that-
$53, I think,
no.
right?
A daily
So-
fee, this is.
Why, I'm just thinking, if we increase it to 80, is it gonna people are still gonna pay the $80. They'll come for the day, maybe come off a little bit, but we could take the surplus and apply it to family activities that we're doing at the beach. So that Darien resident, I said the fee was gonna be $40 per family to go. We could lower the fee for Darien residents for these activities by having the additional dollars that we would have for non-residents.
And we don't have to vote on it tonight. I think it warrants a little bit more discussion.
It has been a very sensitive issue in the state. There has been several years in a row proposed state legislation regarding specifically this issue and how much towns charge non-residents for beach access. It's been a quite hotly debated issue. The papers, almost every year, sometimes will go around and survey the towns and how much they charge. Yeah, I've talked to Wayne Fox in the background. He said, you definitely should, you can charge something that, kind of covers, you can reasonably say, kind of this covers kind of our operating expenses or whatever, but, caution us against just saying, oh, they're non-residents, we can get whatever we can get. So, we do need to be, or I believe, it's my view, that we need to be cautious about that, and kind of the thinking when we talked about it is if it's $50 per day, the $3 it's just the sales tax, because the state did start requiring us to charge sales tax on parking. We all pay it now, but
I just
to
think,
make a generalization, when a car comes in for a day, most likely it has multiple occupants. So if you on average said, if a car comes in the day, maybe on average there's 4 people, because it could be a minivan with 8 or whatever, that maybe it's $12.50, $13 a day. That doesn't seem unreasonable for, beaches and bathhouses and a snack bar and all of that stuff. But it's something we would just want to be very cautious about and really be able to substantiate.
okay. I only reason I bring it up, I know this past summer, Weed Beach, there were many times where that lot was, not necessarily at capacity, but the dirt part that we're gonna be, cleaning up once the evasives are taken out, even was probably half to 3/4 full. Now that we're gonna open up the beach and be adding on, and we know the population's growing in town, I think there's gonna be times when Weed is gonna be completely full. And so do we want Darien residents to be turned away from
I
using
hear you.
the beach?
I hear you.
So I'm not saying it's a deterrent for people, we're not saying, hey, we want you out of here.
Yeah.
But by increasing the fee, we can use those funds for other things that we want to do too, and apply it to family activities and things like that. It's the first thing that comes to mind, that's all. And are our fees in line with what Greenwich charges or other surrounding towns or out of town?
It's pretty mixed bag. Some towns are really charging incredible fees.
For non-residents?
For non-residents, right,
Yeah.
and then, I think ours are, they're, in my opinion, they're where they should be. They're not too crazy and they're not too low, they're,
Fair.
Yeah, they're fair, I think it is, and it feels nice to be fair when you look at some of the other towns that really.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking that we don't run out of space for Darien
But
residents.
that's forward thinking,
That's all.
yeah.
And the other issue was, do we offer the ability to come to the police? And remember this issue, Chris, when we were, and teachers and military, et cetera. So that was always,
We were worried about capacity as well, and I mean, you're right, I mean, in fact, one of the planning and zoning commissioners, when we were in front of them last week, asked that specifically, he said, we do this project, you're not adding any parking, is that gonna be a problem? And, I think we've all mutually agreed that with all the apartments coming online, if you watch the state of the town on Monday night, and Steve Mulvaney's presentation about, what did he call doubling down on Darien, he must have said that 20 times, but, his idea is, existing investors are coming in and doing more and more in town, and he's talking about all of the development and, all of the apartments, and there's more apartments on the slate now, and, I'm just sitting there going, those are all people who are gonna be wanting to use, use the parks, use the beaches, so,
use of facilities.
yeah, we definitely have to be conscious of that. So it's something to think about as we
That's a good point.
go through this.
That's a good point.
Anything else, Pam?
No?
Okay,
So I'll have my staff get some comparable prices from neighboring towns on gardens, and I'll report back.
Thank you. It may be once we get weed done, and, we get pear tree, it's gonna be looking a lot better. We think about
Increasing beach.
increasing beach, you know, once.
That's what we did last time.
Yeah.
Once we finished Weed Beach, we bumped it up a little bit
Yeah.
because of that.
That seems like an appropriate time to do
Right.
it too.
Right.
Once we got from Marvin.
Yeah, right.
And, you know, I have no sense what will happen with Great Island in terms of, is it gonna be the same sticker, or a different sticker, or any sticker? You know, we have not had those conversations yet. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So as you notice, it's the shortest report I've done in quite a while. That's, I did not have a chance,
Because you haven't been busy at all.
no, I haven't been busy at all. And, you know, Jim and Cassie, I gave them a break, and Sandy, and really just reported on the one community event, which was the Old Fashioned Holiday last weekend. And it was just, it was, I keep saying, it was just magical.
It was.
It was magical.
People loved it. I've
Yeah.
gotten emails and texts from people who went there. You know,
Yeah.
the daughters of friends of mine
Mhm.
who were there.
And the wish lanterns were just everything I hoped it would be. You know, they sailed, people decorated them, the kids, the teenagers. I was really impressed with like the 8 to 15-year-olds that were really into decorating, and grandparents that were putting their grandchildren's names and then sailing them out. And it was just, it was really beautiful.
Right.
We sold out all 200 online
needed
before
more.
the event. We needed more.
More of everything.
We didn't know.
Yeah,
Yes.
more donuts,
More
more
everything.
everything.
Sold out of everything. The sponsors, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
The sponsors were amazing. They allowed us to have the ice sculptures, which people really love to see. I think there's just more potential on having,
There's
and
huge
the,
potential.
and the
I was
feeling of having this annual thing to look forward to, a tradition.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
There
more
was
than
so
happy to
much
buy
joy.
1,000 donuts next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the hardest, how many were there, like 500?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part of the day for me was families coming up saying, could we buy a lantern? I was like, we had a few occasions where people had bought a bunch, and one guy came back and he said, he had like, you know, 10 and 11-year-old boys that were just like, I just want to climb on the rocks. He said, my kids aren't going to do these, and give them to somebody else. And then, you know, a family that came up that wanted them, I was able to give out and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the afternoon, I guess it was going to be about 20 of or whatever, there were
Quite a few packs of
there
some
were quite a
people
few that
didn't
had
show
been
up.
paid for that weren't picked up, and then those, if people came, we
Handed them out.
handed them out, and people were able to.
But I thought
to
it
do
was
that.
amazing to watch, like, the kids and the families, like trying to locate where theirs drifted off to. You know, there was someone going around the pond, then there was an old couple sitting in the bench that just watching them. Like, they were just happy as, you know, two peas in a pod. And so it was really good, feel good to give back to the community and not have to charge.
People were so happy.
Mhm.
They were-
Yeah, it was a
it was
great,
just
it was a great
joyful.
time to start off the
We had a lot of
old
older
season.
teen kids too. I was surprised
Yeah.
at how many, like, it wasn't just the littles. There were a lot of like
Oh,
older,
yeah.
like, it was like college, some high schoolers were around. I was really impressed by
Well,
that.
people were also just enjoying the park. I mean, over
Right.
where I was like way, I mean, I
Yeah.
never even saw you.
Yeah, I know, I was in
way
Hopkins
over near the launching area. But there were tons of kids in the field in front of me,
Yeah.
just horsing around, playing tag, doing whatever they were
gorgeous day.
doing, and just enjoying
it
the
was
park.
gorgeous.
And then how many? I mean, your husband took the picture of how many kids climbing up on those rocks.
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
I mean, dozens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there were the activities, but then kids were just having fun in the park, which was nice.
Wonderful.
Which was nice, and sometimes I think people who live more around town don't tend to think of Tilly as a place to
To
go
play.
to play.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, gee, this is gonna maybe introduce more people to Tilly, and say, well, this is sort of a nice spot just to hang out.
I think people are gonna make it a tradition.
Yeah, to come with their families.
I do think we could get another speaker aimed together, because we couldn't hear anything on where you were
Right.
stationed.
Right.
So that might be a good idea.
I was in the boomies.
Yeah. Well, we have
Couldn't
do
hear
have another
any
speaker, too.
announcements on the other side.
Yeah, so we do have another speaker. The issue.
There were announcements?
There were.
Oh,
Yeah.
we definitely couldn't hear
Yeah.
them.
But the issue is that the speaker that we have, even with the music playing, if you, it was really loud. So if you walked by it, it was really loud to get it out to the rest of the, another speaker would have helped going your way,
Mm.
but you couldn't put it up that loud because it, up higher.
I think if you just turn
that
them.
level,
Yeah.
no, if you.
No, it
put
was
on-
up.
on a
It was up.
pole, so like higher than you even had it.
But it was higher than, I mean, well, I'm short,
What were
It
the,
was pretty high, but I think if
It
it's
was.
just facing one
but
way.
it was.
You could possibly turn that one down and just add another one, because that one was
Right.
doing fine,
Right.
way fine.
No, it's a great suggestion.
And there was just nothing on the other side at all.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, it was the first time doing it, so I, at first was like, why is Lori way down there? But it did work because there was that nice little landing where the little kids could go put it in the
Yeah,
water, whereas the
yeah.
other ones, kids were like hanging over the rocks trying to drop their wish lanterns in the
No,
water.
that was the perfect launch
So,
spot.
it was.
That was perfect.
So we,
Was there a moment where you light the menorah and light the tree?
no, they were just lit.
Okay,
They were lit.
because that could be also a fun
Mhm.
moment, like, oh, the tree's getting lit.
I
You probably
was
thought that.
hesitant about that coming off of the tree lighting at Darien Sport Shop, and I wanted to be respectful of that.
Yeah.
Because our staff even thought about bringing Santa, and I put a kibosh to that. It was like, there's some other things that we could do right now that are different, and I was just sensitive about it. So for now, it was so last minute, I didn't want surprises. We had all worked together on what each event was going to do,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to surprise, like, oh, all of a sudden we have a tree lighting and we have Santa.
Right, right,
And
right.
I was like, the only one who's gonna get bit by that is me. So I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
all hands
No,
on
I think
deck,
it's
too.
great that you're thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
But there are just so many things, I
I
mean,
mean, we could do Mrs. Claus, we
you
could,
could
there's
do a
so many
puppet
things
show.
we could do.
I mean,
Puppet show, I
you could
love that
do-
idea.
You could,
Yeah.
there's just, you could have people walking around on stilts or something, I don't know, whatever.
yeah, no, it was great.
It was nice.
Fabulous. We
It's,
did
it's
fabulous. It
great,
was really
and
fun having it.
you've
The weather
got a good
was,
foundation for it to
Yeah.
blow up.
the weather was perfect.
Perfect,
Yeah.
so, that's all I'm really gonna, so I will comment
So
on
cute.
the whirl at McGuan. They've tried every effort to adjust it. It can't be adjusted, so a brand new one has been ordered. So we will have a brand new one in McGuan, and hopefully end of January, early February, which is a decent time because it doesn't get used that much at this point. So, new one's on the way.
Yeah, just a couple of things. Pam has something here, the Wheat Beach Meadow Trail update. I was gonna mention, we did go before planning and zoning, and then they came back and did their sort of verbal, yes, we like this, very positive comments. Again, Steve Mulvaney mentioned it in his comments the other night publicly. There was an article in the newspaper about it. The only thing is, it's been all wonderful publicity, this is great, this is what's gonna happen, but we don't have the money yet. So I had to make sure it's making it sound like it's a done deal. We still have to get the money. So we were hoping we would get the official written approval from P&Z this month. We kind of tried making moon eyes at them, but I think with the Great Island Circle and everything, they got behind. So we won't have the official approval till January.
January 9th.
Right, at which point then we can go out to bid. But again, we have to find out what it's going to cost, and then we actually have to get the money. So we'll be talking about the selectmen about that, and then the pear tree project, and see what they want to do with that. You know, we're already a year into our 5-year approval.
And I sent the probable cost estimate to everybody, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just those couple things. Okay, that's it. All right, what do I have? Pam and I had an email, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this, but from one of our residents, actually the same guy who found the kids with the party set up in Stony Brook, thank you. Who happened to be at the dump the day we were disposing of all the paddle boards and kayaks, and he was kind of upset to see they were just being disposed of. We
Right.
probably should think about next year what else we could.
Right, those I did get
Those?
better clarity from
Okay.
Sandy. I was not aware of that. I guess that was between Jim and Sandy. But those kayaks were kayaks that were left on the property with no sticker. So it wasn't as if they had stickers and it was past November 15th and we were clearing them out so that they could come collect them for the $75 fee,
Right.
late fee. These are boats that were not identified. No one knew whose they were just left there for months.
I think
And
Tom's
so-
point is,
Right, they could go somewhere else.
they
And I-
could go somewhere
someone-
else.
And I've talked to, yeah,
Oh,
and I've talked to
yeah.
Sandy about that, and I
Okay.
will address that.
Okay,
That won't happen again.
okay.
Some of them were no good,
If they were
and they
truly
should have
no,
been thrown away.
okay,
But there were some that were in decent condition where
Right.
that some families could use.
right, so that was, I think, his
We're gonna put it
point.
in a swap shop.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, put them in the swap shop, they'd be going like
Yeah,
that
every
or
second.
whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right.
That won't
whether
happen
it's
again. I just wasn't part of the conversation.
Sound Waters or
Yeah.
whoever, it just,
At the ski resort I used to work at, they used to take lost and found and actually sell it and use it to raise money for
right.
Mhm.
a social service organization.
My kids would have that on Facebook Marketplace. and
Right, of course.
Yeah, I was just thinking
No
about
time,
that,
but anyway, so I think that was his point is,
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
I absolutely agree.
okay. I wanted to mention, Jim has assembled his committee to look at
Yep.
pickleball, you know, what the need
That's
is, to try to get their arms and like, what is the need? The inventory, what the resources are in the community and elsewhere, but why don't you just give a quick overview,
Sure.
what the plan, who's on your committee? Because
Yep.
you've met with everybody and just then what
Yeah,
the
so we
plan
put
is going
together,
forward.
we met informally over coffee, just to get to know each other. The committee members, it's gonna be a small committee of 5. Helen Johnson, Sarah Kunitz, Bob Marchese, and Jack Deary are the 4 Darien residents that will be on the committee, and then myself as a 5th, so that when we take things to vote, we'll have an odd number. We're going to meet every Wednesday, beginning with the second Wednesday in January.
Every Wednesday?
No, every other Wednesday.
Oh, every other,
Every
I'm
other
sorry.
Wednesday, so
Okay.
the second and fourth Wednesday of the month,
Okay.
starting with the second Wednesday in January here at Town Hall. Meetings will be on, I mentioned Wednesdays at 3:30. And everybody's welcome to come join.
Come view.
View. But open the
Jim,
comments.
could you speak
Yeah.
louder?
I was just saying that the committee is gonna meet every other Wednesday, on the second and fourth Wednesday of the month at 3:30 here at Town Hall. And the public is certainly welcome to view the meeting, and we'll be open to, taking comments. There'll be a part of the meeting, right, that will be open to comments and participation. But what we wanna do is, arrive at something that's going to, hopefully just a few months, maybe 3-4 months or whatever that it takes to arrive at a conclusion of how we can satisfy the need for pickleball in this town. And which we all know that there certainly is a need. And I welcome everybody to come, pickleball, tennis, paddle people, everybody with their thoughts. It's going to be.
And Jim, I'll probably, as a staff member, have Cassie
Okay.
represent the Parks and Rec Department. I
Right.
haven't talked to her about it yet. I feel that she'll be happy to come and maybe even set up this if you need it sometime for a quorum. Who
Okay.
knows, I'll help Jim get the agendas set up and posted.
Okay.
And then you do need to make sure that somebody is gonna be writing minutes.
Taking notes. Yep.
And you mentioned, I think Bob Marquez used to be a member of this commission.
Used to be part of the Parks and Rec Commission years ago.
And then one of the women you said plays,
They
I
all
think you said tennis, pickleball, and paddle,
Right,
so.
everybody
people-
plays pickleball, tennis, and paddle. Bob plays all 3. Sarah and Helen play tennis and pickleball. Jack plays pickleball. He's also a member of the Darien Men's Association and is
He
very
runs
active
the
with pickleball.
group.
So I think it's a good group. I think very open-minded. I think we'll have some great discussions and, we'll come up with a solution, hopefully. And it'll be something that hopefully will satisfy everybody, that, tennis folks will be happy with the outcome as well as pickleball folks.
So basically, the goal is to come back to present to the commission your findings.
Yes,
So, could we ask that sort of as a first task that the group develop a written charge, like, this is what we're setting out to do, that they could come back to the commission for review and approval, so we all make sure that we're on the same page as what the goal is.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that would be around as a really defining, how much do we need? Like, how much pickleball, you know, kind of what is, you know, do we,
Right.
you know, finding out, do we need 2 more courts, do we need 20, you know?
Right, and we're gonna look at the surrounding area and what the other towns have and all that stuff. We'll also look at, I mean, is there, if we can't physically have something here, do we partner with somebody? You know, I don't know what the solution, I mean, right now, I'm not gonna say anything is in stone, but, you know, maybe that turns out to be the solution, that we partner with somebody who's already in place until we get to the point where we can get approval to build more here. I don't know. I mean, things have been done in the past, we know, you know, up at Cherry Lawn, that was privately funded. It's an opportunity to do that again, I don't know. You know, but all these things will be reviewed and discussed, and we'll see, come to some conclusions, and we'll bring it to the committee and say, come into the commission, and say, here we go. You know. But hopefully we'll have a solution and satisfy that need.
Great, thank you. Okay. Pam and I met with the Cherry Lawn Gardeners, had a really nice meeting, really nice meeting, and you all know I love to garden, so it's fun talking about them too. As you know, we updated the rules to recognize the gardens and that there is oversight by the department and the commission. The rule is not like our formal garden rules, but the rules that are specific to the gardeners, you know, how the gardens run, the do's and don'ts of being a member of the garden. We all agreed could use some freshening up, so the gardeners, the folks who have really been running this the last, well, probably more than a few years, many years, have sent one draft of that with some ideas, and Pam and her team need to take a look at this, and then the ideas that they'll bring them, and we'll have the gardeners come to the January meeting. We can go over the rules, get input from everybody, accept them either at that meeting or following meeting. Those will be the official rules for membership. And then also, we believe what would be appropriate is to, you know, designate, you know, a cherry lawn garden, you know, committee or working group, whatever we decide to call it, which, you know, most likely would be these, you know, these folks who have been doing it for so long. There would be a chair, which would be Mary Louise, which she's agreed to because her practice has been to have every group chaired by a commission member. So practically speaking, they're going to continue along largely how it's been operating, but we're going to build that connectivity back to the department and the commission. But it was a really good meeting, and everybody was receptive. And then, you know, as issues come up, then it makes it clear that this is something that the department, you know, Pam can be engaged in, you know, can be involved in and make a decision. And then if people really have an issue, you know, they can appeal it back to the commissioner or whatever. But that was a good meeting. Great Island update. You probably are all aware from reading the papers or watching the meeting. Really, the activity right now was getting the acquisition of that piece of property around the circle that was approved by the RTM on Monday night. So that will go forward. And then outside consultants have been retained, and they're very far down the road, no pun intended, about the plans for the road, widening the road into Great Island to get access. So really, the last meeting we had was pretty much just a report out and showing us, you know, the plans for the widening of the road. So that's really what's been going on. We have another meeting next Wednesday. Weed Beach we talked about.
It's challenging, widening the road.
Yeah, it is. It's all going, as you're looking at the road, it's got to be widened to the left. I guess our property line is basically 5 feet from the road on the right. There'll be a sidewalk, but that's as far as they can go. So it's all to the left.
And that road you're speaking of is when you come over the bridge
Yep,
and enter?
straight up.
Okay.
Onto the causeway? And that causeway through the
We
marsh
go all the
area?
way up around the circle and then over to the left.
Okay, so it's the widening and the entrance by the gatehouse.
From the gatehouse all the way up to the circle.
Yeah.
All has to be widened. Because it has to be two-way. That's the only way in
Yeah,
and
that's the
out. It has to be
thing,
wide
yeah.
enough for two-way.
It's kind of a pretty road. It's got all this.
It is pretty, and the plans look like, you know, they're talking about doing a lot of plantings and, you know, trying to make, the stone gate has to be moved, but maintaining the architectural integrity of that, and kind
Oh,
of
good,
trying to keep the
great.
look and feel. They seem to be very sensitive to doing that.
And also, I think there's cobblestones along the sides
Yeah.
of the, yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, it is pretty. It's pretty.
challenge is gonna be going over the marsh.
Yeah.
And winding that.
That's after you go around the circle,
Yeah.
there's no
Okay,
plans
so
for
it'll be
that.
one way.
Then the rest of it will be one way,
Okay.
for
that
the
makes-
time being.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Good
for the
sense.
time being. You know, TBD, longer term, but for now. I mean, John's, he said it to me one-on-one, and I believe I heard him say it again the other night. There was some talk of, we won't be able to get traffic in there until the road is done probably midsummer, but, maybe we can find ways to get pedestrians and bicycles on sooner, but I've heard him say that a few times
He
now,
said
but.
it's state of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be great. Maybe they just want to get the acquisition of the road closed. That being said, what occurred to me, and I'll have to ask him about it, is when the road's under construction, I don't know that there's any other way in. So it might be that people can get on there for a few months, and then once the building begins, I don't know how else you would get in there.
Yeah, the other thing is, once the cars get in, where do they park?
Well, we're creating parking. Ed's identified about 200. When he first was like pocket parking, there'd be little, somewhere there'd be, 10 spaces here, 15 here, whatever, but they've identified these different pockets, and I think the number was about 200 spaces that he thinks he's identified sprinkled throughout the property. So a lot of work has to be done in the next 6 months,
Yeah.
like a lot of work to
Yeah.
get all this pulled
Yeah.
together.
Of course.
But that's what's going on.
Well, thank you for your good work.
Thank you. And then Coastal Commission has continued to work on updating the current kind of waterways ordinance in town. And we've had I missed the first of those 2 meetings because it was the same night as this meeting, but they were here for they were actually later than us that night, which never used to happen with Coastal. That was 9 o'clock, you're out. And then we met again right after Thanksgiving, and that was about another 3 hours as well. So more work's being in a discussion on that, and that a lot of discussions around the moorings and maintenance of the moorings and waiting lists for the moorings and speed limits and things of that nature. But so that's been
There's some
and-
moorings in Ziegler's,
Yes.
Scott's Cove. right?
Yes, and then they're doing, they're clarifying, for instance, that there's what are being referred to as berthing moorings, which are more the main harbor in town where that's where your boat kind of lives. It's overnight and it's unattended. One of the clarifications is a boat that is left on a mooring and it's unattended. Where then they're defining what they call day moorings, which are like Ziegler's or Scott's, where, a captain really has to be on board. The boat's there for the day and the captain needs to be on board.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
things like that, there was never a distinction. And
Yeah.
so now they're making a distinction.
Yeah,
and
that's helpful. I
clarifying,
think that's right.
how many boats can be rafted at once, things of that,
Yeah.
things of that nature, where there just really wasn't.
No, it's a free-for-all
Guidance.
crazy.
It is a free-for-all crazy. That's good. And the other thing is Bill Cavers is staying on the commission, but has stepped down as chair. Julie Jones and Bill Wright are going to be co-chairs, and then David Kahn vice chair, so.
This is coastal.
Coastal Waters, yeah, so a little change there. And then I mentioned that I met with the land trust, so.
Yeah.
The activities that are going on. That's it. That's all I've got.
I don't understand why you've been so remiss in having so few meetings.
I know. That's why my grandchildren don't have Christmas presents. But we are gonna get on
You
that.
need more meetings, Lori.
We're gonna get on that. So that's it. I think we could wrap this up at 9 o'clock.
Whoa, round of applause.
If anybody would like to make a motion to that effect. Okay, Susan? I forgot to ask about new business. Any new business? Nope, okay, back to Susan. Amy, second, okay, all in favor? Mary Louise, yes, and Kathy? Yes?
Happy holidays.
Okay, happy holiday, everybody. Okay, we are done.